Helen here with Eyes on the Game, and I'm here being joined by the man of the hour, Mr. Rob Van Dam, also known as RVD. Now, RVD. Yes. Now, first off, before I get to the reason why you're here in Las Vegas, I have to say that you kind of helped contribute to a lot of me wanting to 5-star frog splash my younger brother from the couch when I was very young.
You didn't pay attention to that part where they said, don't try this at home?
Well, then I got in trouble by my dad, so.
I actually started out by frog splashing your brother, too. That is so crazy.
You know what? That's how, okay, yeah, he did mention that once, yeah.
It's a small world. After all, It's a small world.
Absolutely. I love that song. Well, let's talk about the reason why you are here, because you do comedy. I hear you're quite good at it. Now, can you kind of talk about, your stint here this weekend?
Yeah, so tonight is the last of a 3-night RVD ringside comedy spectacular big Vegas show. And I've heard such rave reviews as I had fun. No, I'm just joking. See, I have a very, very dry sense of humor. Some people call it cottonmouth dry. Some people call it undetectable. But you get used to it. And it's a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun the last couple of nights. And it's just something that I enjoy doing sometimes. Like sometimes people will ask me like, hey, so how's that going, man? We need to get you booked here and there. I'm like, dude, I'm not even trying to be busy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know too many people that relate to that. Everyone says, you staying busy? That's good.
Oh, true.
I'm like, hey, pal. I prefer a day off to a day on. That's all I'm saying. I consider myself semi-retired, but I still do everything that I've ever done. I still wrestle. You won't see me on TV for WWE. And by saying you won't see me doesn't mean it couldn't happen. There's no plans to talk about. But most of my matches are overseas. My last 4 were in Australia. I still do it, but like 10 to 12 times a year, as opposed to like 240 with the WWE. And I still do, appearances. I still do stand-up comedy. Yes, I still do the splits.
Well, like you said, though, the comedy show here, so you said you do it kind of, here and there. Would you ever consider doing it full time?
Money is the motivator. You know what I mean? I'm not going to lie. It's the same thing with when I put my wrestling boots on. People say, are you really selective? And like, well, yes, because I'm not priced to fly off the shelves and move really quick. A lot of wrestlers want to be out there every weekend. And that's all they want to do is wrestle till they're beat up and their body's beat up and they can't really wrestle anymore. And then they're screwed, and I've always had many other interests. One of them is just watching TV, you know what I mean? But
that's a good one.
Hey, I love doing that. It's we all put our own value on our time. So with stand-up comedy, like at first, just because I enjoy the writing and the delivery and the whole art, of seeing like what works and then doing it night after night and tweaking or trying new stuff. I enjoy all that. It's fun, and I would just do it though, like in Los Angeles or Las Vegas, because that's like driving distance, and it wouldn't be worth it on the business end for me to take these bookings where you got to come to my comedy club in Texas because I make a lot of money when I'm there wrestling, and I don't love stand-up comedy enough to be like a hungry wannabe paying my dues climbing up the ladder, and I don't have to because I'm a superstar. A lot of hey, exactly, that goes a long way, and a lot of comedians, they work their asses off for 10 years and they never get to have their face on a marquee by the Las Vegas Strip and have their own thing. But then again, a lot of comedians wait for years to even get a laugh, and I've never had that problem. But they should have just been a superstar first. That's all I'm saying.
Right? Yeah.
Would I do it full time? Money's the motivator. So I've done a few tours because if I did like 9 or 10 in a row, then it was like worth it. Yeah. And what adventures those are. We filmed one which will be released as a documentary like really soon too. Yeah. Eventually, but I can't really talk about it until I have have the exact information. And so far, it's likely it might be like January, but I'm trying to get it before the holidays, trying to get them to rush it. But right now it's in the can. Stoked about it. It covered a lot more than I expected it to. So watch for that. It's called Headstrong. And anyway, money's the motivator. When I do it full time, dude, I'm moving here to Vegas.
Congratulations. Welcome to Vegas.
Yes,
Best city ever.
For sure. I've always loved it here. I've always thought I could live in Vegas, I could live in LA, but nowhere else. Not on the mainland anyway. For all the traveling I do, it always just feels like I'm away from home. You know, like, do people know they don't have to live here in, Denver, no, I don't know. I was gonna say Des Moines, Iowa, and I just went with the D word, but you get the point, though. Yeah. Anyway, I love it here, and that would be very convenient. And there has been talk about like a residency gig where, believe it or not, it would be the RVD show several times a week, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, because a lot of your fans probably travel here to Las Vegas and would love to watch you perform, so that's good for them to keep on the lookout, right?
Yeah, well, like I said, it is a lot of fun, so even if they don't really know what to expect, because there are other wrestlers that have been doing stand-up, and I'll just say they, because I don't want to, I don't want to call their name. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, they kind of set a precedent for like just telling like road stories, and so a lot of people just expect, oh, he's gonna have some really good stories, and maybe I do, maybe I don't, but I also just like making people laugh, and my inspiration for that, for being engaged in that kind of activity on stage, doesn't necessarily come from the same inspiration as wrestling. So, I'm not as limited as everyone else. That's all I'm saying. I got a lot more to show. That's why I'm always extreme. And RVD's Ringside Comedy, dude, that's awesome.
Unfiltered, for sure. Yeah. Now, about some wrestling, though, let's kind of talk a bit about that. A bit earlier, you did say that you won't be in a WWE ring anytime soon or in the future.
Don't watch for me there.
But have they reached out to you to maybe do appearances? Because I know, like, for example, Trish Stratus or Alita, like, they've been kind of bringing, a lot of people back just for maybe appearances here and there. Would that ever interest you?
Money's the motivator. It's been a while since we've talked about that, and last time it didn't work out on the business end. What it was worth to me, it wasn't worth to them at that time or whatever. And until that changes, then I probably won't be there. So I was just saying it's better for me to do like 1 or 2 shots at a time in like England or Scotland or Italy, and so I've been doing that. And it's something where I don't have a problem saying I don't have that fire that I did before, because you can't be hungry when you're not hungry. Exactly. That's part of those growing years. That's part of what made ECW so fun. Yeah, and I still love showing off for the crowd, and it's an energy that's traded back and forth that I do love. I'm just saying I don't have that competitive state of mind that I used to. It used to be like I'd be in the dressing room and everyone else was just they were like competition. People think we're all friends, we all love each other, but Sabu and I really would, be like, oh, screw that guy, screw that guy. He thinks he's good, he sucks. Like, we were, at that time set, we were like that. Now I'm just like, hey, you're still alive? Oh, good to see you.
So was it very, like you said, competitive backstage? Were there a lot of real life fights or arguments?
There was some, not a lot, and I think with ECW more about fans. Fights that started outside with the fans that came in through the dressing room, and that would happen. Yeah, there was a riot one time where like police came in with the dogs, closed the show down, and they were like, everyone was afraid they were going to go through all our bags with the dogs and smell narcotics or something, and we were like, Tracy Smothers was like, kick the dog, man, he's a stooge, that dog's a stooge, kick him. It was funny, but yeah, there was some wild times, but in that business, I really think that you have to be the most competitive to get the furthest ahead. You really do.
That mentality.
You really do. Even just to get in, just to break through and get initiated, you have to eat, sleep, and breathe it. You got to want it more than anybody else, and you got to prove that. Just like anything else, everyone wants to be a superstar, in any area. That's not that's not statistically in your favor. You know what I mean? And it helps if you're a third generation wrestler, like most of them seem to be nowadays. My last run, I counted I think 16 different wrestlers that were second or third generation. Yeah, Vince McMahon has always liked the family tradition in that respect. But I think, the guys that do make it to the top that are the best are in that competitive state of mind. You can be friends and respect and like and even hang out with each other. But, when it comes to being a business, they're, could be referred to as sharks in the water,
Oh, yeah, kind of like dog eat dog as well. But what do you think about the wrestlers today?
Well, I mean, they're obviously still selling tickets. You know what I mean? It's crazy to me to think it can be on for 3 hours every Monday. But the wrestlers today, well, they're very talented. Because I'm so old school, when I watch it, I can't help but notice the difference in the style, and I feel responsible for that because I bridged that gap between old style and when I was doing my extreme moves. The old timers used to tell me that they didn't think that belonged in the business, and I used to think, oh, they're just jealous because they know I'm changing the business and they can't keep up with me. And I get that they're probably thinking that now, but when I watch it, they break a lot of rules, from the old school mentality. That's the best way I think that I can put it, without breaking omerta.
You still follow it now or not really?
Because my girlfriend, Katie Forbes, is an up-and-coming wrestler, I watch it sometimes to try to help her, criticize, point out things, positive or negative when we're watching. So, and she wrestles for a while, by the way, under a character name called Chloe Hertz, which is going to be on Access starting in January before New Japan Wrestling. Yeah, on I think Friday nights. So I try to help her. She's up and coming. I've already been there. We both respect that. It's amazing how well we get along, having so many mutual values, how that carries over. So yeah, so it's great. So the women today are really kicking ass. I mean, right now it's about the women. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if they broke off into a separate brand or something. But if they did, then no one wants to watch all guys. You got to have some good-looking girls on the guys show too, and they'll always mix it up. Like when they made their own ECW, I thought they polluted it because they had it too mixed up. They had all the SmackDown and Raw wrestlers wrestling on there. Then they added rules, and obviously it dissipated after it became just like the other products. But with the women, there's a pretty distinguishable thing between the guys and the girls. And the women today, all of them, they're such good wrestlers now. Back, when I was in WWE from 2001 to 2007, during that run, it was a complete different style when it came to the ladies.
But Lita was good. Lita, Trish.
Good, but the whole standards were different. Yeah. So I'm just saying, now the girls look so natural. They're some of it used to seem kind of unnatural compared to the guys. Just the physical stuff. I think guys, without it being in our brain, which is probably part of it, but they grow up, wrestling their brothers and their friends and stuff. And I think with girls, maybe not so much. And when they do wrestling with their brothers, then they're better wrestlers, But you watch them now, and I mean, the thing, not just how good they are, but the moves that they're doing and the whole, they're doing everything right. So it's awesome. So I'm glad to be a lady wrestler. It's a good time. Good time to be
and that's great that you do, you're very supportive of your girlfriend and pursuing this route. Now, what do you think of Ronda Rousey, though? Being a former UFC champion, now in the WWE. Have you seen her compete?
I have. I saw part of one match. I just saw her I don't know if I think she was doing some arm drags, and she was taking it to somebody, and I could tell right away that she's really good. Her execution of the moves and her timing and everything, it's something that is, I don't want to say you either have it or you don't, but it really goes a long way when you have a natural skill or talent, as opposed to it being very hard work for you to try to pull it off and try to fake it enough to fake it till you make make it. And for her, for sure, she wrestled with her brothers, and she's really good. So and of course she's great for the business. Yeah. Just like Brock Lesnar being great for the business. I mean, these are legitimately some of the best fighters in the world, and that adds so much credibility because people, when they think of pro wrestling, when they think of the word entertainment, they think that we're all just playing. We all love each other. It's like a big friendly pillow fight. I could be driving down the highway and pull over at any random, restaurant. Someone could say, "Hey, I saw your friend in here earlier today. Who's my friend?" You know what I mean? Yeah. It could be someone I can't stand or I hate that guy. But either way, that's how people think. And in reality, besides the physical roughness, which is easiest for people to understand, it's also, like I said, really competitive. And the women are kicking ass and whatever else I was talking about.
And everything else, but also right now, two-division UFC champion Daniel Cormier, he's talking about that he would love to make that transition someday. How do you think that he would do in the WWE?
It's really hard to say. I think that if they have the passion for it, then and they believe they could do it, then hey, I think they definitely have a great chance. Anybody. I mean, nobody gave me the encouragement except my parents when I was a kid saying I'm going to be a pro wrestler. I was like 160 pounds, I remember, and I joined wrestling in high school, and they were telling me I could drop down to 133. Wow. I was like, what? I want to be a pro wrestler. I want to weigh 230. Yeah. Wow. Which is a little less than I weigh now. I'm always like about 235 and have been up or down a few pounds for like the last, I don't know, 25 years or so. I always stay right in there. So, but anyway, I mean, Daniel Cormier is a great fighter, and I'm a fan. It's hard for me to say exactly how he would transition because there are a lot of differences. But like I said, if he thinks he can do it, then I think he can do it. One major difference people don't think about, and I always tell them when someone wants to know about the realities of it, and I say, if I'm in a fight out on the street or in the octagon, which don't laugh, it could happen, but I would want to end it as quickly as possible before I could get hurt. But with wrestling, you have to keep it going for a certain amount of time, and that is part of your job, especially on live TV, like to the minute. I would know if I have a 6 minute, I have 6 minutes for my match, or if I have 9 minutes. That's a huge difference, and that becomes your job. And where the commercial is, how long each entrance takes, just like live anything on TV. So there's a lot of differences. So I don't want to hit a guy and knock him out. I want to hit him so that the crowd likes it, but so they can keep taking hits.
So you almost knocked
6 minutes. Well, it's a different kind of attack. Everything's done differently. Yeah.
Have you ever done something where something happened unscripted on accident?
Oh my God. So many. First off, I've never even seen a script, to a match. So, But I mean, a lot of I'm from the school where a lot of the matches are just like made up in the ring, and you're just me and Tajiri and I recently had a match in the UK, and it was like so fun because we didn't talk about anything before, and we went out there and worked with the crowd and stuff, and it was just like so fun, and it was in like the crowd was enjoying it, and we got the fans involved, and it's too often it's not like that anymore, but I do have the mispleasure of being someone who has hurt or knocked out several of my opponents in the ring. Yeah, I mean, like if you talk to wrestlers about wrestling with me, the word stiff is going to come up a lot. I like the word snug just because it sounds friendlier, right? A little snuggling action going on. But that's how I got trained though by the Sheik, was to protect the business, and it was all about keeping each other close. And I got trained without ever one time being told this is the way to do something without hurting somebody, or never, or this is how you tell a person what you're going to do. Like never once. Like with the way he trained us was like, get on him, his shoulders are down, pin him, what are you doing? Grab him, squeeze him, you look like a couple of bleep. And I got trained so stiff that a lot of the local guys didn't want to wrestle with us, and nobody, we didn't have like a big class. It was real. It was like 4 of us, and if anyone showed up to work out, they'd leave after one day because he had us beating the hell out of each other. And I don't try to hurt people in the ring, but to answer your question, so yeah, and my style. And by the way, like when I was wrestling a lot of local guys, like my first several years, 90 to 93, I guess, like some guys like Al Snow. Yeah. He was way back then I was wrestling them, and he was like, whoa, lighten up, and then I was trying to adjust and compensate to make these guys happy. And then I went to Japan in 93.
And they wanted
the opposite. Like anything I was doing wasn't even tight enough for them to register, and they would just knock me on my ass over and over till I got so mad. I thought I was offended, I thought they were being jerks. And when I started giving it back, then I realized, that's how it is here. So I blame Kawada, I blame Masawa, Akiyama, Kabashi.
He's coming after you.
Arigato.
And so has there ever been beef between you and Triple H though?
Between us, I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask him his feelings. You know what I mean? Like, I have been at a point, where I had like about enough, and we had a talk, and that kind of soothed it over, but I mean, I have always consistently heard that he wasn't a fan for pushing me up into a higher position from the office side, and he's always been part of the creative decisions, so there's been Dreamer many times has said he was in a meeting where they needed a main event for WrestleMania, and it was at the time when everybody had RVD signs, and I beat The Rock, I beat Steve Austin, and then and they were like, what about RVD? And Triple H, is well known, to said, no, Rob's not over enough. And so I just think, that is what it is. Yeah. But it's just, who's to say that obviously, if I don't fit his vision, that's fine. I mean, WWE now is his vision, right? Yeah.
But why do you think that was?
I don't know. I think looking at it, I don't think I would be the best foot to put forward. You know how I was telling you, like, you got to be hungry and you got to want it more than everyone. They all wanted it more than me. Like since probably since around 2001, like when I went to WW, which was F for a minute when I went there, I did feel like I was selling out. Like my heart was in ECW so much and that style, and we were killing each other. And it was no one asked if we were really hitting each other because they saw us busting each other open, and it was just like that, setting each other, the fans on fire.
Would scare me, yeah.
It was, but I thrived in that environment, and then I really wanted that to grow, so I didn't have to go anywhere else. That didn't happen. And so in 2001, when I finally went to WWF, I did think like, all right, I'm selling out for the paycheck, and I kind of felt like, okay, I'm turning myself in, like go ahead and do with me what you're going to, because they historically would like change someone's name, erase their past. I didn't know what to expect. I was totally surprised when Dreamer was there and threw me an ECW shirt and said, we're doing this invasion thing. I was like, what? So I had different cycles, of motivation. But looking back at it, I was never like, like I spent a lot of time out in the car. I did a lot of things that would have told the office that I was a high risk. I would come in smelling like a skunk.
Why?
Marijuana.
Oh.
I think that was a serious question. That's great. Can we talk about that on here? Is that fine?
Oh yeah.
All right, cool. So but back then they didn't test for it, but I would always spend everybody else that would want to get together, and talk about wrestling, and I didn't want to punch in till I had to, because that was so I'd be out in the car, I'd be smoking, listening to the radio, napping, I'd go to the gym or whatever, and show up like at the end, right when they're saying we've been looking for you, and then they just fill me in on a little bit, and it was easier for me, and there was a lot of situations like that that I think they probably could have thought that I was high risk. And then when I finally did get the WWE Championship, I kind of did blow it by getting pulled over. Had possession of marijuana in Ohio, 18 grams. I know because in Philly, when I had to give the championship up to a Big Show, they were singing marijuana 18 grams, marijuana 18 grams. And but I had to drop the WWE championship, then the next night the ECW championship, and then I had a 30-day suspension. So, I mean, looking back at it from that perspective, you can't really, I mean, how can I defend, the position of that? So,
Yeah.
I just want to say, I never thought I'd be the WWE champion anyway. I always was happy just being myself. And that also is a problem, though, because, I mean, you think about it, like the best employee from their position would be like a puppet that could you could like give your values through that puppet, so to speak, and I'd be the worst at that because I have my own values, and when my values contradict their values, I always let them know, so there's that.
And you spoke your mind, but do you regret, that incident happening?
I mean, I wish. I guess. I mean, if I could go back and not have gotten pulled over for speeding, then I would do it. Yeah. I mean, I do appreciate the attention that it brought to the subject, just because I've always been an advocate for cannabis, and so like when Michael Phelps got busted, I couldn't believe they were on TV like that. Kimberly Guilfoyle was saying he needs to put the water bong down and pick up some vegetables, and I was like, does this lady really think she knows more than the greatest athlete on the planet about health and nutrition? Like, why can't we learn from him? And as you keep saying, it's legal now, so that's why, that's because of situations like RVD getting busted and drawing attention to it. So but it would have been cool if I didn't get pulled over. What I was going to say though is I was always happy just if my head hit a glass ceiling and that was as high as I got, you know what I mean? No pun intended. I didn't think that I would be the world champion. The only reason that happened is because I changed the entire playing field by bringing ECW back, which was where I thrived the best, and I was the best representative to be the foot to put forward in that world. But again, that bust kind of screwed up plans, and then I'm not so sure I would have invested in me after that. But
I remember your EC. Hey, we all live and learn, right? And we all grow from it. No pun intended, right? Yeah, but looking at your ECW days, I remember watching you when you were in ECW, and I'm sure a lot of viewers remember those days and love you, particularly from those days. And you've had so many memorable matches. Is there one that really sticks out to you or a favorite?
From the ECW days, the original, yeah. So, well, all my matches with Jerry Lynn, like they were so special because, like, it wasn't like Jerry and I were bros. I just met him like right before we wrestled, one of the first times, and we both brought like a competitiveness out of each other that was such that every match we had would like one up the last match, like we'd remember what happened last match. I know last match when I went to hip toss him, he did a flip and land on his feet and leg sweep me. So this time if he does it again, when he goes for that leg sweep, I'm going to like jump over him, and kick him. And then it was just, every match was like that. So I'm so glad they caught those on video because I don't want to work that hard again anymore, And I always loved wrestling Sabu because we're so like-minded in what we want to give, how much we want to give of our body, sacrifice, put into the story that we're telling that night. And we both have similar views on what's cool in a match. So that has a lot to do with enjoying being out there. Otherwise, sometimes it can just be a job, a really cool job. Yeah. But, sometimes you can be out there wishing you were home watching TV.
Because of how often you guys would travel, right? 200 something shows a year?
For me, that got monotonous right away, but also the politics. Like, in order to last at the top in that business, you do have to politic, which I never would do. I laugh at the politics because I just wanted my talent to get me as far as it did, and I believed in my talent enough to know that would be all that I need. Yeah. Now I know that if you wanted to go to the top and stay at the top, then you need more than just your talent because there's so much more involved in it. I look at it all different now, but I still am happy that with what I've done, and you know, like you mentioned, I get a lot of love everywhere I go. It's so awesome. And a lot of people say, dude, man, I quit watching wrestling like 15 years ago or so, and they still remember me because I've been doing it for like 100 years, and I mostly look the same, and like a lot of people, it makes them a little kid again. You know what I mean? They'll be like, yes, RVD, baby. I mean, that's like every day, like that's like inside, like in a mall or something. It's screaming that.
No, like when I heard that you were coming, I was like, oh my gosh, it brought out the 10-year-old me as well. So I had to tell you the story about my younger brother, which is true, by the way. And sorry, Dad.
Okay, just tell the 10-year-old you that you grew into being a very lovely whatever-year-old.
Thank you, 27-year-old. But anyway, so you mentioned obviously you're still very close to Sabu, but are there any other wrestlers that you're still like very close to or have a good relationship with?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us ECW guys have a good relationship. You know what I mean? Like we had a special bond that the WWE wrestlers couldn't understand because of the things that we were doing, you know, breaking our bodies up and the budget that we were on compared to what they were doing, you know. But obviously the artists in us loved that. So we all, I think, pretty much are really happy when we see each other, you know. Like I can't help but smile if I think of like Little Guido, Gwiz, I call him. But yeah, Tommy Dreamer, love him. And
Sandman?
everybody. Oh, I love Sandman, yeah. I get along with him now more than I did then. And again, but I actually always have, you know, but now we just, like I said, a lot of us now are, you know, just like I said, you're still alive. Like Sandman is one of them. He could have died a few times. Yeah, come on, he would drink like 5 beers on his way there. He was fine. He's fine though. Sandman's fine and happy. You know, but outside of ECW, Booker T's like one of my best friends, and even if I don't talk to him for like 6 months or whatever, I think guys are more like that. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to talk to my friends like that often. No. Katie will often ask me for details after I talk to somebody. You know, oh, is he still with his girlfriend? I don't know. You know, oh, did they move yet? I don't know. You know, like we don't talk like girls do, you know what I mean?
Like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, no, I mean, if Booker might call me, Rob, I need you to get on, can you do radio? Can you be on my radio? I'll be like, sure, dude, you know, and it's, otherwise, if there's not a reason to talk, then I usually don't talk. I might have a friend or two that's an exception. Yeah. I have a friend that's a cop. He's not into, he's a wrestling fan, but he's not a wrestler, but I talk to him way too much. Yeah. And sometimes he'll call and just say, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, God, this call's going to suck. I just like space out while he's talking. He'll be like, blah, 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 blah.
While, right?
And then when it gets quiet, I'll be like, oh, what's that, dude? I spaced.
Oh, so you tell him.
Yeah, because then, I don't know, they forgive me for that. I don't know if it's because I get hit in the head with chairs a lot or because I smoke pot, as we talked about, or what. But people are cool with that. I'll say, oh, what's that, a space? And then they just give me the bulletin points. They'll say, oh, I gotta leave for Texas next week. Boom. Thank you. That's all I needed.
That right?
They would have just said that the first time. I wouldn't have had to ignore him. Yeah.
So if you want to be RVD's friend and talk to him, just remember, get to the bullet points quick. And what about Stone Cold? Did I see that you were on his podcast not long ago?
I was on his podcast. We both live in LA, and so I went over to his house, and we talked a lot about spirituality, which is like a side of me that I think people pick it up in the ring sometimes, you know, and they say, you know, that I'm so genuine and so cool, like they just want to hang out with me, and you know, it comes across somehow in what you see in wrestling, but outside of that, like in interviews, especially like with Stone Cold, when I get to explain my perspective on something, you know, that's like a very important part of my life, you know, like this, he was asking me if I'm one of those people that can like read people's energies, right? And he was like, can you tell me how to do that? And I said, it's more about reading your own energy. I said, like, pay attention, like get in touch with your own, you know, spiritual vibration, because that's completely from how you feel. You can't feel good and like vibe bad, and you can't feel bad and vibe good. It doesn't work like that. But anyway, I said pay attention to what things in life stimulate it in a negative way, bring you down. Stay away from that. Pay attention to things and people that bring your energy up, and just start being conscious of that. And I've had so much feedback from fans saying that they learned so much from that particular episode that it made it seem like, wow, I did something good by just sharing that. Yeah, so many people.
Have you always been spiritual?
As long as I can remember, yeah. It's something kind of like that's I think part of my foundation. Like I'm natural, but I also work at it too. I grew up in a haunted house, yes, and so I've always kind of felt, attached and always like had a relationship. I feel
like ghosts.
Yeah, I had a ghost from when I was 5 till 18 when I moved out and started my career. Yeah.
You say that very nonchalantly.
Yeah, I mean, someone asked me about it last night, and I hadn't talked about it in so many years, but it was just like, it was something that was just regular. Like I said, I was 5 when I moved in there, and a man had hung himself in the garage before. Yeah,
and you knew that when you were young?
Went to school with the kids. It was weird, yeah. But not his kids, but his nieces and nephews. But anyway, my mom told me when I was that young, he's a friendly ghost, so don't be scared. So I never was, but I never saw him, but always would hear him, and there'd be like the fireplace door would open and close, and just all kinds of stuff. Like my whole life. The last time that I was at the house, I would have overslept and missed my flight because I had to drive to Detroit, except for he knocked on the door and actually woke me up out of bed so I can catch my flight. Yeah, so I want to thank you, Mr. Tuttle. Thanks for being there, bro.
And would you say that...
Good time to be a lady wrestler. I'm very proud.
A few more questions, but would you say that having that ghost there,
Say whatever you want.
Did that... thank you. Okay. Did that affect you or change you in any way?
Not that I know of. I mean, who can look back at anything that's happened in life and really know for sure what influence what could have happened if this didn't happen. But I think that it just, if anything, at least made me more open-minded. My parents must have been fairly open-minded, I think, in order to have a product like me. And
from wrestler that was going to be 133 pounds, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so it was different, and I've always been fine with being different. And then as an adult, like I have to be different, especially the more I study, like regular sheeple. You know what I mean? Like, who wants to be one of those? Right? Oh my God, yeah.
People who follow the herd.
Yeah. So I'm used to being an exception now, but then being an exception is my norm. So then that's kind of like a full circle. But anyway, it's something that maybe, I guess, I don't know. He never touched me in a bad way, if that's what you're asking. The ghost.
One of my last questions for you, because I know you have to get ready for your show, but so Samoa Joe, I know you worked with him in TNA. How do you feel about his success now? Do you still talk to him?
Yeah. Last time I saw him was here in Vegas, actually, when I think I had a birthday party at Hard Rock or something. But Samoa Joe is a longtime friend from California, and so I used to tell him, that he should go to WWE, but he would listen to myself and other people that were in WWE, and since you're traveling over 300 days a year to get to all these shows, that's usually all you talk about, and usually you're complaining because even if you're still young and you're like, oh my God, there's Undertaker taking a shower right next to me. I'm so excited. Like, I can't imagine how long someone can stay in that mode. Yeah. But even if you were able to, it's still a very challenging schedule, traveling every day, renting cars, flights. And so at the time, he, like AJ Styles at the time, I think a lot of those guys.
High-flying style.
Yeah, but also just from TNA and from that time period, there was like Beer Money. I remember even Bobby Roode, like they were kind of feeling like they had like they were doing all right, they were busy enough, making enough money, and I just remember like thinking like they have no idea, but when you're in WWE, like, not only are you so much more busy, but they push you out there and you're such a bigger star. You're so much more recognized than you are, you know, when you were like, he was, we have 4 matches a week. We're doing all right. But then I'm glad to see that he went to WWE. AJ too, both of them, and Bobby Roode. They're all there now. But they, you know, I'm sure they're experiencing now what it's like to really live on the road, but also, you know, to be superstars. And that's awesome. I think anyone that, you know, if you're getting into it, then
Get to the pinnacle, right?
Why else do it? Why do anything half-ass? I do a lot of stuff half-ass. You know, you can get up early and get the worm. I'm gonna sleep in, you know, so I can't say that. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people, that's their dream. You know what I mean? To get to WWE. Not a lot of people get into wrestling just to stay on the independent scene. Even though some people get too stubborn, like me, too opinionated, to where it's harder to adjust and fit. But that happens. Anyway, if you're not at WWE, then you're definitely not at the top. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But speaking of just being on the road a lot, are there any stories you'd like to share to your fans? Like any fun ones or?
Well, one time Booker T was driving, and we were heading I don't know, through the desert or something. It was hot, and we were going to the next town, and I was about to spark one up, you know, and he had me on safety, child lock or something. And I said, Book, can you roll the window down? And he looked over at me, and he saw I had a doobie, and he rolls my window down like halfway, and then he turned the air off, and I was like, dude, what up? Why'd you turn the air off? And he said, did you say you want the window down? I said, yeah. He said, well, if you want the window down, turn the air off. When you put the window back up, I'll turn the air on. I said, dude, what's up with that? I'll pay for your electric bill. Yeah. And he said, well, you already owed me for dinner last night. So I jumped out of the car. Oh. Not really.
Okay.
I'm tired of hearing myself.
You rolled out? Yeah.
Yeah. I rolled out. Whoa.
Okay, and then lastly, where can your fans, you know, follow you?
Real RVD everywhere: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Even though I got to use Instagram a lot more, I'm learning. I'm trying.
Your Twitter's cool though.
Yeah, got like 11
million followers. 11 plus a million, right?
Yeah, and a lot of followers on Facebook, and I'm going to start using that stuff a lot more because I'm going to be talking about this documentary I got coming out. Yeah, I'm going to utilize those million plus fans. Hopefully, appreciate your support.
Thank you.